I've mentioned a number of times before about hydration of the body when you're doing physical exertion for a long period of time and keeping your blood sugars flowing through, or the glycogen levels as it's called. There's a lot of stuff I learned when I was a personal trainer for 15 years, where I was coaching all different types of athletes, sports people, exercise, all those sort of things, and of course hydration is a very important aspect. So what I'll most probably do tomorrow is, when we're trekking back, which is going to be way up over there, I'll explain a few fundamental principles. I was going to talk about hydration and the right levels of sugar with water so your body takes it in properly and balances out, but it's a bit windy up here and the terrain's getting really steep now, so I'll do it on a separate part of the video. The epilogue part of this Brecon Beacons Wild Camp video, I am actually going to separate it, re-edit it and do it as a separate shorter video, actually containing the content of what was in this epilogue. So it's an easier point of reference if people want to come back to it, rather than having to link onto the Wild Camp and Trek video. They can go straight onto this specific subject and use it for reference in the future. Hi guys and gals, it's Pete, Mindwiseman's channel, aka Maverick Outdoors, and I'm in one of the corporate gyms that I use. I train in myself, or I bring people in, and this is going to be a video which is including the epilogue, which was at the end of the Brecon Beacons trek that I did on the 3rd of May 2015. And what I've decided to do is actually separate that epilogue and edit it a little bit and re-upload it, so you have a specific point of reference to do with hydration and replenishing calories after physical exertion. Physiology and anatomy and biochemistry of the body are quite complex but very interesting subjects. But the information that I'm going to give you in these videos, especially this one, are all going to be based on ideas and principles that are very easy to understand and are in layman's terms as best as possible. So let's crack on. So the isotonic process of blood sugars diluted with water getting into your system to sort of replenish stored energy, and energy, some of it that you've actually depleted out on the trek and trail or when you're doing actual physical exertion. So without going into the complicated process of the biochemistry of the body and how it actually hydrates when you need to, and the glycogen levels which are stored in your liver. And there's a small percentage that are stored in your muscles. So when you're exerting your body and you're burning off that glycogen which comes out of the muscle tissue, the art of it is to hydrate the muscles as they get depleted of the glycogen, so that they don't get fully depleted. So then you have to go into the stores of the liver, and then once that's depleted, basically your body then totally fatigues. So if you imagine my hand is the body full of the stored blood sugars, if you want to call it that, to help you understand it easier. When we start to do physical activity, it starts to deplete. But what we're trying to do is, with the right sugar solution with the fluid that we're intaking, we want to sort of top it up. So it sort of goes like that, rather than, if you take my hand as the image, totally depleting, then has to go down into the stored glycogen in the liver, which we don't really want to happen. It does happen partially, but we're trying to defer that from happening. So the main thing is, don't allow yourself to get thirsty. Always try and keep thirst at bay. And obviously that's based on experience of how thirsty you get from physical activity. So the main aspect is keeping thirst at bay, just sips of drink every now and then, so you never really get thirsty. Because what happens when you don't allow yourself to get replenished and rehydrated as you're on the move If you allow yourself to get thirsty, then the biochemistry starts to change, whereby you can lose up to 30% of your potential to continue with physical activity, and then it takes up to 6 to 12 hours for the blood sugars to get back into the muscles while they're resting, for you then to keep going. So if we're talking about performance-related hydration, this is one of the main things you want to be considering. You can see this bottle, where my thumb is, down to the base, which is coloured blue, and it's marked off into 10 sections. Now, getting the right solution, not sugar-free cordial, a sugar-based drink, which is your favourite, not a low-calorie drink, because that doesn't serve the process. Your body's evolved to actually use blood sugars and carbohydrates, and in sugar-free drink there's no carbohydrates. So you'll get the fluid, but then you'll get the chemical sweeteners, which actually don't serve a purpose at all. See, it doesn't have to be a bottle this size, but you need to be, whatever drink bottle you're using, imagine that it's got 10 sections to it, and the first section is where you want the cordial. So where I've shaded the bottle in blue, that will be the cordial, and then you'd fill it up to where my thumb is with water. So in layman's terms, a sugar-based cordial drink, 1/10 of the total fluid that you mix it with, allows your body to treat it isotonically. So what happens is you drink it, it gets absorbed in the stomach, but your body doesn't treat it like food. Because if you intake something that's got too many calories or sugar or carbohydrate, what it does, it confuses the biochemistry of the stomach, and then your stomach starts to treat it like food because of the density of the calories, maybe that you've added a bit too much. And then what happens is all your blood moves away from the working muscles that you're doing the activity with and goes straight into the stomach to help it digest the fluid that might have had too much of a rich mixture, which then confuses the stomach's biochemistry to treat it like food. So all the blood goes to the stomach. Obviously don't have anything to eat a big meal before you do any exertive physical activity, because all the blood rushes to the stomach to help the digestion process, which then depletes the oxygenated blood flow to help work in the muscle. But back to the bottle, if you just consider whatever your drink container, imagine there's 10 sections to it. The first section, section 1, you fill up with a cordial, then you fill the rest of it right up to the other 9/10, and that gives you the right mixture for your stomach not to think it's too rich and like a food. So what happens is it starts to absorb the sugar content of the liquid that you're actually drinking, and then it creates more of a hydration. So it allows still the blood flow to circulate through the muscles while your heart's pumping to get the blood flow oxygenating the muscles to keep you on the go. While you're keeping hydrated, taking that 1/10, 9/10 of water drink mixture, it's then allowing the stomach to absorb the fluid. In comparison, if this was just water, there'd be less chance of the fluid absorbing in the stomach and then being distributed to the activity of the muscles where the blood flow is taking that fluid. The actual research has shown that it's about 6% to 10% of the total volume of the fluid, which then becomes isotonic and allows your stomach to digest the water, not flush it right the way through the body, but to allow it to be absorbed by the wall of the stomach, which then allows it, if you think of it, of like the water expand into the rest of the body. So it's much more of what's called the isotonic process to keep the body hydrated and keeping your physical activity much more potential to keep it on the go. But then if you're just sipping on water, this is where the sweets come in. So if you imagine that as being 1/10, and then you take in about half a dozen to 10 mouthfuls of water, but on the safety factor, when you're out on the trek and trail, you could be breathing through your mouth and nose. You don't want to have this whole sweet. You lose your focus and you end up swallowing and maybe choking on it. So what I tend to do, I'll chew the sweet, crunch it up, swallow it, and then take swigs of water. So I create, with the water from either just plain water from a bottle, or as I did on the trek and trail when I was up on Brecon Beacons, out of the actual 2.5 litre bladder. It's sort of replicating in a very minute way the same principle as this. 1/10 sugar, the other 9/10 fluid. So you create that isotonic process. As always, Thanks for watching.
And I'll catch you in another video soon. Cheers.